Hey everyone, welcome to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. And what are we talking about this time? Well, so the studio behind Forspoken, Luminous Productions, has announced they will be merged into Square-Enix. I believe by May 1st. So coming up quick here. So basically they announced the developers, again, behind Forspoken and Final Fantasy 15. They will no longer exist as a separate game studio. So on May 1st, they will be merged back into their parent company, Square-Enix. Luminous Productions did confirm this out on Twitter, and I'll give you what they say here in a second. So they'll be folded back into Square-Enix, like I said. They were established in 2018. They were kind of split off from Square-Enix to do their own AAA games. And, well, that clearly didn't work out for them. So, like I said, on Twitter, they said, we established Luminous Productions in 2018. Our vision was to make AAA games that fuse technology and artistry to deliver completely new play experiences. Having the chance to do just that has been a dream come true. And that's what they wrote on Twitter. We appreciate you taking this journey with us and look forward to continuing to create new entertainment and experiences as part of the Square-Enix family. So, Forspoken, even though they're still going to do some stuff on Forspoken, some performance patches, as well as releasing their prequel DLC that was announced a while back, in Tanta We Trust, which is currently slated for this summer. But beyond some patches and and probably one piece of DLC this summer, I imagine, then that's probably about all you're going to see for Forspoken. We all liked Forspoken for the most part, and they also made Final Fantasy 15, which I liked as well. And I think we all liked Final Fantasy 15. But, for Luminous Productions, those two games, especially the newest Forspoken game, just didn't do well, right? We enjoyed Forspoken, but, critically and most gamers did not, right? It got a bad reception online. So it just didn't work out for Luminous Productions. And it is what it is. They put a lot of technology and money in behind these. These are definitely AAA games that they invested a lot of money into, but they clearly couldn't cut it with these games, right? I mean, Final Fantasy 15, which I think was a great game. It wasn't the best Final Fantasy, but it definitely wasn't the worst one, in my opinion. But then Forspoken came out, and though I enjoyed Forspoken, it definitely wasn't like, I don't know, for me, it wasn't like, oh man, I can't wait to see what Luminous Production does next, right? It was just kind of like, oh, this game's fun, I like it, but, I don't really, I'm not looking forward to whatever they're coming out with next, right? Until they show it off and stuff like that, then maybe. So, they weren't really, in my opinion, a high-profile studio. And Square Enix has been making a lot of weird decisions lately, and so, merging them back in there might be a good thing. Probably will be, because clearly Luminous Productions wasn't doing very well on its own. So it might be better just to bring those people internally and kind of focus more on what Square Enix needs to focus on inside, right? There's a lot of things they need to do to straighten the ship, to right the boat, and maybe bringing the developers and producers back in from Luminous might help with that, right? And kind of concentrate them on the stuff they do really well, the games that they're established franchises. And then maybe once they get, and maybe work on some new IPs and stuff, but mainly once they get that ship righted again, they can start, kind of branching out from there, right? So it'll be interesting to see what they do with those guys once they bring them in. Maybe some will probably be working on Final Fantasy 16, even though that is coming out soon, but they're still shaping up and fixing things with that. And then, maybe the next Final Fantasy or some other game, right? Some new IP or something. But Shane, what do you think about all this? What do you think of Luminous Productions getting merged back in?
Yeah, it's I'm kind of surprised by it because, Square Enix doesn't make the brightest moves, but I think this is a good move because I think they are talented. I agree. Forspoken wasn't the big IP killer badass app that we were expecting, but it was still a very solid game overall. And I really enjoyed Final Fantasy 15. I thought they did a fantastic job with the open worldness of it. That was, really, really well done. Story wise is pretty solid overall. So I think putting them back in the fold is a good idea. I wonder, because, as we discussed previously, Matsuda, the president, is stepping down. So was this like his finals, his final thing? Hey, I can make a smart decision. Look, can I keep my job? So, I don't know, what brought this upon him, brought this on Square Enix to do, because they've already been selling people. So now they're bringing in people, so, but I think it's a good idea because they do have talent. I think they probably just need a little more guidance and experience to help get them to that killer IP that, that they could probably do. Because Forspoken had a lot of good things about it. There was just some things that weren't quite right. People didn't quite enjoy. We probably enjoyed it more than anybody. So, but Final Fantasy 15, I think, was a great showcase for what they can do. So hopefully that their next game will not involve multiplayer for Final Fantasy 15, because they never got that crap to work. But it had promise. So they need guidance, I think. And, I see good things for them. I really do. I do think, Nick, that, when I hear their name announced as the next game that's coming out, I will pay attention, because I really think that they do have the ability to make a great game at some point. Right now, they're putting out good and mediocre. So,
after Forspoken, I might, if they were going to make another game, I may have. But before Forspoken, if you said, "Hey, Luminous Productions is making a game," I'd be like, "Who?" Because I didn't even know they did Final Fantasy 15 until I looked it up and go, "Oh, they did 15."
Yeah, exactly. I never heard of it. But if they decide to make Forspoken, then I'll probably avoid it altogether. But hopefully they will continue to make some really good stuff. I just think that Square Enix bringing them back into the fold after some of the brilliant decisions they've made, it's kind of odd, but could be a good thing. It could be a step to get Square Enix back as a good game developer and not somebody you're really gun shy with. So, but we'll just have to see, because no telling what's going to come out of there next. So, what about you, Pat? I mean, I know you enjoyed both games to a point. Forspoken.
Yeah, I mean, I beat Forspoken, so yeah, it was a good game. I mean, yeah, it got a lot. I mean, is it the perfect game? No. Is it like game of the year material? No. Is it a bad game? I don't think so. I think the combat of this game is unique and fun and interesting. The dialogue is a little squirrely that they put out, a little weird, a little cringy at times, but overall I enjoyed it. It was a pretty interesting story, and so I liked the game. A lot of people, and when I'll say this, the critics were more kind to this game than the people were, which is interesting, but sometimes that happens. I think Metacritic had like a 1.7 on PC out of 10. They had a 5 scale, it's a 10 scale. And then on the PlayStation, they got like a 3.5 out of 10. So not that much better, but almost doubled the score. But I don't think it was that bad of a game. I enjoyed the combat. It was interesting parkour magic. It was like parkour wizard, so I don't know how to say it, but but they only got a chance to really do that game on their own, right? Because they did, I think when they were making the Final Fantasy 15, they were still technically part of Square Enix as like Division 2 or some weird thing like that. Because Square Enix does like Square Enix Division 3, Division 4, Division whatever. Now I think they're Division 2 or whatever. So, but I mean, it's better than layoffs is what I would say, because from what I understand, they're just absorbing them. They're not getting rid of anybody, which is a good thing. And who knows? We'll probably see that same team back in again, called Square Enix Division 7 or something, or Division 5. Shane was saying, Forspoken. It's going to be Square Enix Division 5. So I mean, good and bad. Forspoken got a rough stick. but I thought it was a decent game. Like I said, we don't give out scores or anything, but I would say it's better than a 1 or a 2 or a 3. I would put it in the 6 to 7 score range. I wouldn't give it an 8 or a 9 or anything, but but I enjoyed it. Thought the graphics were cool. Relatively smooth game. Had some cool, interesting concepts in it, but sometimes things aren't critically acclaimed enough. They don't make enough money to keep it going. And not to mention, as you guys mentioned, Square Enix has made some boneheaded moves, which has cost them millions of dollars. So they're probably hurting and needing to do some restructuring. And this is part of it. I mean, when you put out a flop like Babylon's Fall shortly after another game that, when you try to push live services as a game and it just doesn't work the first time and you go after it the second time and do worse the second time, then, you have to think maybe this isn't our genre, So when you do Avengers and you're resting on the laurels of Marvel and you can't make it work, and then you decide to put out a no-name Babylon's Fall live service game and it doesn't work, and just worse is like 100 times worse than a Marvel game, then it's time to cut ties, which hopefully is what they're learning, their lesson here. I don't know. It's probably the right move for them. They're hurting a little bit for cash. And instead of having a subsidiary that's not really, the subsidiary probably lost money. I would imagine if we probably could see financials for them, Luminous Productions, it probably wasn't very good. They're probably in the red, So what else can you say? Hopefully those people all get to keep their jobs, and, it's just refolding in and stuff like that. But we'll see. There's a lot of shakeup happening at Square Enix right now. So I don't know, man. Nick, you think this is a good idea too, or a bad idea, or you wish they stayed together? Do they wish they kept the band together?
Do you always wish to keep the band together? No, I think it's a good idea. Yeah. You're probably right. Forspoken probably didn't do very well for them financially. And they probably spent a lot of money on it. And so, Square Enix has been making a lot of boneheaded moves, and, they're trying to right the ship. It seems like, we talked about, you might see in the previous video, we talked about the president being resigning or stepping down and someone else taking over because, Square Enix has made a lot of bad decisions lately. And we've talked about those quite often, right? Not saying that Luminous Productions was a bad decision per se, but they're probably just looking at financials and going, okay, we can't have that subsidiary. They didn't do very well with Forspoken. We kind of had a lot riding on it. It felt like Square Enix did for that new IP, and it just didn't do well, right? So they just want to fold them back in, but it's good that they're folding them back in, like you said, and not firing people or just, liquidating that subsidiary and saying, sorry guys, thanks for making a game, goodbye. They're just like, all right, let's just bring everybody back in and trying to focus on things. I think that's what they need to do, is be laser focused and kind of right the ship, right the wrongs of Square Enix. That's the route they've been going down, or the president's been trying to take them down, and just right that ship. So once they get that going, we could see, I don't think we'll see the Luminous Productions come back as a subsidiary, but we could see, some of their tech and various things like that they were utilizing to, future Square Enix games, or maybe even a Forspoken 2. I don't know if they'll do anything else with Forspoken. But, you might see some of what they used in Forspoken into a new game possibly, or something like that. Maybe some of the good parts they take out of it and say, okay, let's take these and put it into something new. But hey, that's right now, Square Enix needs all the help they can get. So folding in one of their subsidiaries to make that happen is probably the best choice for them right now. So.
Well, and they spent a ton of money on this game, because I don't think I've seen a game get that many commercials in forever. Like, I can't remember how long it's been since I've seen so many commercials for a game anywhere. Like, every time I was on an internet site, I would see an ad. I remember watching TV and seeing an ad, and you just don't see a whole lot of game ads on TV these days. Now, I've seen like some Hogwarts Legacy ads and stuff, but you typically don't see a whole lot of game ads on TV these days, so they advertised the crap out of Forspoken. I think I remember one time watching like Hulu or something and saw like 4 Forspoken ads in like a half-hour time span or something. So Square Enix dumped a crap ton of money into putting that game's name out there and touting it. I think they really wanted Luminous to succeed. It's just the game rubbed too many people the wrong way. That's all I can say. I mean, we obviously are not in the majority voice on this game, which happens from time to time. We're not in the majority voice on games, and even our own troop is not always in sync with each other on a game, whether we all like it or not. But this was one of those rare games that we all 3 of us liked, but then the majority of gamers were like, this is the biggest turd out there, and we just didn't think so. So I don't know. Yeah. Bad break for Luminous. I don't know.
One thing I would like to see come out of this is the exclusivity crap getting cut, because if they would have been able to put this out on Xbox as well, at least that'd have been more income for them. That'd have been a little bit less of a loss. So I mean, I don't know what kind of bank they got to keep it exclusive to Sony and PC, but or if it was just a decision not to put it on Xbox. I mean, Square-Enix has not been the friendliest to Xbox, so I don't know if there was some cash floating or there's just a decision they made. But when you develop something new like this, I think cutting a quarter of your revenue stream off is not the best thing to do. Even if you don't like even if you don't like to develop for Microsoft, you don't like to develop for Sony, cutting them off is just cutting money out of your pocket. Now, if they're willing to, fork over a buttload of cash that, you may not have gotten if the game sucks, I can kind of see it, but I would like to see the exclusivity crap be cut down with Square Enix, because when they develop something new, they need as much revenue on that new IP as they can. And if it succeeds, then, the sequel, the Forspoken, you can say, all right, it's a PlayStation exclusive, PC coming in April, screw Xbox, then you can do that. But I would like to see that. I would like to see them learn a lesson by saying, crap, we could at least got, another 1 million units sold or 500,000 units sold on Xbox if we'd have put it over there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, especially if it's a new IP, right? Like you were saying, you want, especially if you're going to try to put a new IP out there, which, if that IP did well, then we would see Forspoken 2 and lots of DLC and all this crap. So if you're going to introduce a new IP to the gaming market, I would think you want to try to put it on as many things as possible to get that market share, the highest market share, right? And then from there, like you said, Shane, then the sequels or whatever, you can say they have an exclusivity, like 6-month thing or something with PlayStation or whatever, whoever wants to pay them money for the second one or the third one down the line, right? For that exclusivity window. But if you're going to have a one game, and that's what Square Enix has been doing too, that hopefully they'll right the ship on as well. A lot of their newer games, not newer games, but a lot of their games that they've been releasing, not the big AAAs from Square Enix themselves, but kind of the smaller games that I'm interested in. And I don't have a problem with that because I have a PlayStation, but if you look at them, I'm like, oh, I'm interested in this game. It's coming out for Switch, PlayStation 4 and 5. And I'm like, well, why not Xbox? Like I'll buy it on the PlayStation. I have no problem with that. But like, I'm sure there's Xbox gamers that would love to play this. And if they don't have a Switch or a PlayStation, then they're kind of screwed. Like, why wouldn't Square Enix, like, especially these lower budget titles that, we know that, only certain fans and stuff like that are going to pick up. Like, not everybody has all 3 systems or whatever the case may be. So I don't know why Square Enix is like, it seems to be a lot, unless they're AAA games, they just cut that foot off. Right. And I just don't understand why they do so. I know Xbox doesn't have the biggest market in Japan, and that might be the reason. I think they have a pretty sizable market with the Xbox Series compared to the One, right? In Japan. So it's a little bit bigger, but it's still not the dominant, right? The Switch is, and so is the PlayStation. So that might be their way of going about things. I'm not sure, but it just seems like they make a lot of weird decisions, especially like they have the Final Fantasy Pixel remaster coming out. They have a deluxe box for PlayStation 4. and Switch, and they kind of silently released that onto their store only, and it sold out, and now you can't get one, right? And then they were with that, they were putting it out on for the PlayStation 4 version. Apparently, that's what I heard. You could buy it from PlayAsia because it's still in English, even though it's the Asian version. But apparently, Square Enix, after people had pre-ordered those and everything, apparently Square Enix decided they weren't going to do that. And so now at PlayAsia has to cancel all those pre-orders. And so it's like, again, Square Enix, you're just making like people want the physical edition. They're willing to pay. I've bought stuff from PlayAsia. It comes quick, it comes fast, but it comes from overseas. So you have to pay for that shipping, right? And it's a little bit more expensive. And so people are willing to go out there and do that. I was even looking at it, thinking about it, because I wanted the physical version of it, but that was the only way I was going to get it. But now I can't unless I want to get the Switch version, which I might still end up doing. But, it's like, I don't understand, what Square Enix is doing right now. So hopefully with Luminous coming into folding back into the company and the president stepping down and stuff, hopefully they'll start making better decisions about their games and kind of the direction they want to go, and even platforms that they want to put games out on. I agree. Even the smaller games, I think the smaller games that, a lot of people don't know about, I think putting them out on every platform would be more beneficial to them than just putting them out on PlayStation and Switch only, right? And not putting it out on Xbox as well. So those Xbox gamers can download and enjoy those games as well. So I don't know. Hopefully with Luminous coming in, the president stepping down, things will get fixed.
Yep.
Well, now I kind of wonder what's going to happen with what's going to happen with the Luminous engine now, because they did it on Final Fantasy 15 and Forspoken. They used the Luminous engine. I think I couldn't find definitive, but I heard Final Fantasy 16 was going to be on Unreal Engine 4. Why?
I thought they put it on Unreal Engine 5.
All the stuff I could find still says they're on Unreal Engine 4. That's what because I was trying to look up Final Fantasy 16 engine, and all I could find was articles from Games Radar from like September of last year.
It does say 4.
Unreal Engine 4, yeah. So I mean, my question to them would be, why didn't you stick with the Luminous engine or go to? I mean, obviously it's been in development for a while, so they probably didn't want to switch everything over to Unreal 5 when it came out.
Right.
So, but why they gave up on Luminous engine? Are they killing the Luminous engine off too with this merger?
I would hope not, because I mean, Forspoken, I had a few qualms with it graphically, but it played really well. I mean, I hardly ran into any issues. The biggest complaint graphically was some of the teeth. So, I mean, I've got, no problems with it, but I don't think I would have went to Unreal 4. I mean, I'd have just, if you're going to make a switch, jump over to 5 and be done with it, because.
Well, they've been in development longer than 5's been released. It would have been a delayed game then.
That's true. But.
Well, for me, it's like, and I don't know much about the engines, right? I would have to do research into the different engines, but what can Luminous do that Unreal can't? Right. And what separates, I guess, Luminous engine from Unreal Engine 5 in this case, right? Because that's the newest engine. So what differentiates those two, right? We even have development houses for different developers making new engines, and it's like, I don't know the reasoning behind that. What's the need, right? Because Unreal Engine's been the best engine out there, right? And a lot of games use it, and we've seen that Unreal Engine can do pretty much what we want in a game, right? So what is it that these other engines, we got Snowdrop from Ubisoft, we have Slipspace, that was the 343 engine for Halo Infinite, right?
You have so many. There's Unity, there's freaking
Frostbite, yep.
Yeah, Frostbite, yeah. It's like, what, and Unity is a good one because it's more of an indie. It's a little bit easier for indie developers. It's a little bit more easier engine, because if you ever mess with Unreal Engine, and I have, it's complex, right? Compared to like Unity. But, what is it? in this case for Square Enix, the Luminous engine, what differentiates it from Unreal's engine that it can do that Unreal's can't?
It might come down to cost. I mean, I haven't looked into all of it, but I mean, Unreal has got a lot of development time in it, so they may charge.
Yeah, but they own Luminous, so
who does? Yeah. Epic?
Square Enix. Well, Luminous Productions owns Luminous.
Yeah. So, but it might just be something in Square Enix said, look, we want it on this because all of our other developers are using it or something. So,
right, because they don't want to license out the Unreal Engine.
That's just
probably what
they don't want to lose some of that revenue share.
Yeah. I think that's why even Halo went with the Slip Space engine. There was no need for that engine. That engine didn't do anything that Unreal Engine couldn't have done. Not that I saw. So it's like you could have just done Unreal Engine and been done with it, right? And you probably would have had a better game. You would have had, and because that was, I mean, I don't know, I'm getting off on a short tangent here, but that might be the reason why Halo Infinite didn't turn out to be the great Halo game we were hoping for. I mean, because I'm sure 343 spent most of that time first building the engine, learning how to utilize the engine to build Halo, and then building Halo, right? Which they, didn't ultimately do a great job with. I enjoyed Halo Infinite, but compared to earlier Halo games, it definitely wasn't the best one, right? It's better than 5, but that's not saying much.
That's
so
that's like saying Resident Evil 5 was better than 6.
Yeah. It's not saying much. 6, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's like, it's like, why are you creating these new engines, to cut corners is all I can think of. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be a need for it, right? Other than just it's cheaper for us because we don't have to license Unreal. But anywho, we're getting off on a tangent here about other things. But anyway, do you guys have anything else you want to say about this?
Nope. Just make good games.
Yes, indeed. Make good games. All right. Well, let us know. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let us know down in the comments below. What do you think? What do you think of Luminous getting merged back into Square Enix? What do you, if you made it to the end and you're listening to us right now, what do you think about the whole engine thing? We're talking about the different engines. Maybe I'd have to, again, I would have to do research to see what the difference between the Luminous engine and Unreal Engine, as far as what can they do, what is it that Luminous can do compared to Unreal? But if what do you think about all these different engines out there besides Unreal Engine? And of course, competition's always good, but what is it about these other engines out there that do something better than the Unreal Engine does, right? But let us know in the comments down below what you think. Make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.